Okay, I'm just going to make sure that I'm actually on Facebook Live. This is brand new to me. It looks like I am. So good. We're good to go. All right. Okay, I'm so excited about today's topics because if you're like me, you learn so much more from your failures than you do from your successes. So whenever I fail, I go to the drawing board. It's great motivation. And I look at how could I have done things differently? What did I do to contribute to this failure? And what should I try, not that I know the answer, to do instead for a better outcome? So I failed a lot in becoming a virtual therapist. I have a list of probably 20 different things that I've done as a virtual therapist that I would consider my mini failures. But today I get to share with you my 3 greatest failures as a virtual speech language pathologist. Now, so you're probably like, well, why would I listen to her? She's just good at failing and becoming a virtual speech language pathologist. And that's because I learned from these failures and I've become effective at becoming a virtual speech language pathologist. And how do I know that? Because it's progress report time now. And the progress reports are showing that children with speech and language impairments, or children with at least moderate to mild levels of impairment, have made substantial gains, surprisingly, virtually, being 100% virtual. So I'm doing something right. But in order to learn to do what's right, I had to do lots of things wrong first. So I'm going to share with you today my 3 greatest failures so you don't have to make the same mistakes that I did and you can just go on your way and keep progressing. Okay, mistake number 1, my greatest failure is not remembering that communication is a privilege. It is not something that a child should be forced to do or pressured to do or have to do. And when I talk about communication, I mean communicating through speech or through movement or through augmentative communication. It's something that the child can opt to do, and it's the child's right, whether or not, or preference to communicate. So I'm going to tell you how this works and how this is my greatest area of weakness, because I think I can make anything fun. So what I would do, for instance, is when I'm going over the rules, if I'm saying, let me see your big muscles, did you work super hard? And the child doesn't make the big muscles. I'll say, well, if I just make it a little bit more fun, he's going to do it. So what do? Let me see your big incredible hawk muscles, which is the child's favorite superhero. The child's like, what? Well, I'm going to show you my incredible hawk muscles. Whoa, let me see yours. So I don't know why I keep making this mistake, but I'm pressuring the child to participate. And I've done the research on this. I know better. I get caught in the moment. And what the research says is the more comfortable the child is, the more the child will communicate. So when I'm placing pressure on the child, I'm like, well, I'm going to try this and I'll try that and I'll try that. And the parents holding up their muscles. Okay, let's move on. Like, or he's going to go out of the seat and run out of the room and I'll have to chase him. Just let's go on. The point is I'm going to liken to this when I do this. And I think, well, if I just do X, Y, and Z, you're going to do it. That never works. Okay. What it does instead is it has the effect of someone offering you cake at a birthday party and you say, no, thank you. And then they're like, oh, just try a slice. And you're like, no, thank you. Oh, it's really, really good. And they don't give up. And they're like, if I just say this and if I just offer it this way and you just, what do? You leave. You're like, I can't take you anymore. And you just like, and you walk away from the person because you can't, right? And that's what the children do, understandably, as well. So how does that translate into therapy? What do you do instead of, I feel like green eggs and ham when I do it. Would you like it in a box? Would you like it with a fox? Would you like it? Instead of pressuring the child to participate, what I need to do is be clear. I need to be clear in my mind what the goal is. And I need to be clear with the caregivers and the parents what the goal is. And the goal is this. I tell them this. My goal is simply that your child is attending through a screen and your child is enjoying the experience and becoming comfortable. Because I've done the research, the more comfortable your child is, the more your child is going to communicate. So in the initial station, you have to make this clear. You have to make it explicit, because people are like, you're the speech and language therapist and my child didn't say anything today. You're horrible. You have to make it clear and say, my goal is simply that your child can attend through a screen and is comfortable with me. And the more comfortable your child is, the more your child is going to communicate. So don't worry if your child is not participating, with speech or non-verbally participating. Your child is learning. So we need to make that explicitly clear, I think, not only for the caregivers, and I think it's just really, maybe it's just me, but for the therapist as well. Okay, so that is my number one big fail. And what happens when I do the pressure approach, what do you think happens? The child is like trying to escape. They try to run out of the room. They try to get under the squiggle under the chair. So don't do that. Don't be the person with the cake. Okay. I have to remember that. I'm getting better at it. Okay. So that's my number one. Number two fail for myself is that I thought all I had to do is exactly what I do in person. I'm going to do it through a screen with preschoolers and everything's going to work out just like it does in the real world, just as like if we're in person. So I have really educationally rich hands-on activities. And I'm going to give you an example of a simple activity. The theme is Farm Week. So I start the activity. It's almost like Ryan's treasure chest. I have my treasure chest. I have animals inside. I give clues. And then the animal makes a sound. Whoa, so exciting. Okay, let's call it the Ryan's treasure chest activity, a language activity. Okay, let's go to our next activity. We're going to do some movement or finger play. I have a puppet show of Old MacDonald, and we're going to act out and sing the pieces. Okay, let's go to our next one. Oh, we're going to do, this is so fun, like Gallagher. I'm going to have big animals and little animals and a bucket of water, which is probably not the best for the computer, but it's kind of living life on the edge. And is it going to make a giant splash or is it going to make a small splash? Let's see what happens. So that's my activity I would do in person with the child, but this is exciting as a Gallagher. Oh, don't get wet through the screen or whatever, right? It's not the same thing. And the reason it's not the same thing, and you're going to be like, I didn't get this, is because the child is doing a different type of learning. When I'm with the child is participating in a total body, hands-on experience and learning in which they're moving and holding things and doing things in which their cortisol levels and their dopamine levels are high. So their attention is high and all of that is going on. But what's happening through a screen is the child is sitting. So the cortisol levels and the dopamine levels are lowered because the child is sitting and the child's engaging in a very difficult type of learning known as observational learning. So observational learning requires a lot of attention, a lot of language, and a lot of cognition. It's really hard. So it's kind of like if you're watching science experiments, and even if you're a science geek and you're watching it through a screen, that's kind of what the child is doing. So I did that and I failed. Okay, I didn't get it. And you also have to remember that with speakers, people have half the attention span they would if you're speaking with them live. So you have to take that in consideration too. So what I would normally do for a 20-minute session, doing it online, it was like the child is trying to get out of the room, running out of the room. Can you get him? Can you bring him back? Oh, this is not going well. Okay, so don't do exactly what you do in person online, because it's not. It's observational learning instead of hands-on learning. It's much, much more difficult to engage a child. So what did I do when I failed? Well, of course, I threw the baby out with the bathwater and I went all digital. So I had subscriptions to every SLP game, speech and language game out there. Okay. And then I'm like, okay, all right, I hit the drawing board. Okay, I got it. And what was I doing then? I went all digital. This is my mistake number 3 of my 3 greatest mistakes. So I'm bringing out the game. Okay, spin the spinner, ding, 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 go this many steps, say this word, this word, this word, this other. That's a video game. So when we're working with preschoolers, we know they shouldn't have more than 20 minutes screen time a day. This was screen time. So we need to start thinking about what is screen time and what is screen time that is beneficial for children, which we have to figure out because we haven't done this research on preschoolers. Is social interaction screen time beneficial for children? And what about the video games? Is that beneficial for preschoolers? So we need to tease out, we can't call it all screen time because the research is now suggesting that the Zoom calls, the social interaction screen time is really good for children. At least the older children that have been studied, we don't know about the preschoolers yet. We're in this area where we're all in the dark and we're just doing the best we can. But I did that a couple of sessions, okay, the children interacted. Okay, bah. Okay, say this word, WH question, ding, 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 ding. And of course they were engaged, which is the same reason we're engaged with our phones. It's the bells and the whistles, and they know what to do to get your attention, and you're using all the bells and whistles. But we don't want to teach children to attend to that. We want to teach children that people matter and to attend to voices and to attend to faces, to attend to gestures, not to attend to the screen. So what are we teaching the children when we bring the video games out and the video games give them reward and then we reward them for paying attention to the video games? It's all kind of messed up, right? So it's kind of like, I don't know if I'm making the world a better place or kind of, I don't know what I'm doing here. So that was my 3rd biggest mistake, is that I went in the other direction. But luckily it only took me a couple of sessions to be like, okay, would you do this, Kelly, in real therapy? No, you would be like, I think your child's time to be better spent out in the playground. Like, don't come here. Like what I'm doing is not helping your child. So I had to rethink things. And at the end, what I'm showing you today is how I do use digital medium. And I tried to use it sparingly and intelligently to provide variety for the child, to expose the child to experiences perhaps the child doesn't have, like real photographs of places and things that the child's not seeing. The museums are closed, the zoo's closed. And using real photographs is kind of a neat thing you could do right now to expose the children to what they're being deprived of. So I do use a combination of Google Slides, and I use a combination of real activities. What I said when I went all real, I use 50% real and I use 50% digital Google Slides. You could say, well, Google Slides is video games. It's not. Google Slides provides me with the photographs. Okay, it's just like photographs. It's 2-dimensional. It provides me with things I don't have to show them. So it enriches the learning experience and it provides great variety. The big animation might be that it spins around the picture that they chose, or it goes to the left or goes to the right for a little excitement, a little variety, but that's about it. As the children get better, as the children improve, the Google Slides go away. And typically the whole 20-minute session will just be through screen time, which I know is beneficial, or I believe to be beneficial based on the research with older children. So we're doing the best we can with what we have, but I just wanted to share with you my 3 great failures so you can learn from my failures and keep going on your way and making amazing progress and doing what you're doing. All right, have a great day.